The smell hit me first, the distinct odor of my brother's cologne clinging to the fabric, mixing with the stale air of my neglected room. It lay there, crumpled and out of place, like an uninvited guest whispering secrets in the silence. His shirt lay crumpled on the floor, a casual betrayal amidst the mundane mess. I stared, disbelief gripping me like a vice. I'd been gone, working nonstop to secure our future, our child's future. But here, in the space meant to be our sanctum, shattered trust outlined in fabric. The relentless hours I'd spent away, every sacrifice to build something meaningful, felt futile in this instant. My own brother, his betrayal blinding in its audacity, not at the foundation of who I thought we were. Anger sparked alive beneath my skin, raw, suffocating. I needed answers, but each step towards the truth twisted the fear tighter, a taunting specter of what I might yet uncover. My heart raced ahead. Would I find that everything I understood to be mine was a cruel mirage, unraveling at the seams with every heartbeat? The room seemed to close in around me, walls tightening with each shallow breath. I couldn't look away from the shirt, lying there like some casual piece of evidence that didn't know it had shattered everything. My eyes traced its faded blue lines, creased and crumpled atop the chair. Those lines, so familiar, yet now so foreign, seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat. I remember buying him that shirt for his birthday last year, teasing him about finally dressing like an adult. It was supposed to be a joke, a light-hearted dig that came with a real sense of pride. We weren't the kind of siblings that needed grand gestures. Simple things, like a shirt, those were our language. The living room buzzed with a quiet so thick I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, a sound that now felt intrusive and uninvited. My mind walked through time, pulled against my will to the vivid scenes of us as kids. I saw us running down the dirt path behind our house, the grit of summer clinging to our bare feet as we chased imaginary foes with stick swords. "Don't you think it's your turn to lose?" he'd mockingly say, a taunting grin on his face, his bright eyes always sparkling with trouble and laughter. Trust wasn't something we ever spoke about. It was implicit, woven into our shared silence, into our loud laughter and whispered secrets. Now, it felt like the fibers of that shirt were unraveling in my mind, each thread a testament to a past I desperately wanted back. How many times had he worn it when we'd end up sprawled on the couch, watching the kind of movies he always pretended not to like? His head would tip back, laughter bursting out and filling the room. Those moments were sacred, intimate in a way only family can be. I knelt slowly, the floor cold against my knees. My hands, fingers trembling ever so slightly, reached out. The fabric was soft against my palm, familiar, like holding a piece of my own skin. I didn't want to let go. I wanted to clutch it, press it to my chest until the world made sense again. But it wouldn't. Not now, not ever. The shirt was as much mine as his, a piece of shared history caught in the rift between us. Memories broke like waves inside me, each crash pulling me under a little longer, making it harder to breathe. I stood carefully, as if too sudden a movement might rip the delicate balance holding back the flood of fury swelling beneath my skin. It whispered to me, that voice of betrayal, louder than anything else. And soon, it wouldn't be enough to just stand here, clutching memories like a lifeline. Confrontation was coming, an inevitable storm I could no longer hold back. But for now, even just a moment longer, I let myself sink into the quiet before the tide pulled me away. "Whose shirt is that?" I ask, my voice a threadbare reminder of the calm I'm desperately trying to maintain. She stands across from me, the sunlight piercing through the window and laying bare every crack in our plastered smiles. Her eyes flicker away, dancing nervously around the room, tracing everything except my gaze, like the truth is hiding in the wallpaper or curling up in the shadowed corners. She hesitates, lips parting slightly before pressing back into a thin line, and I can already taste the bitterness of whatever excuse she's piecing together. The shirt hangs limp between us, a testament to secrets unfurled like an unwanted gift. The air between us feels electric, heavy with unspoken accusations and silent prayers for explanations that could somehow make this jigsaw piece fit smoothly into our jagged puzzle. "I don't know," she finally murmurs, a thread of panic weaving through her voice, threading into my pulse. It's the line not of someone skilled at deception, but of a drowning person grasping at anything to stay afloat. Her fingers twist and fumble nervously, betraying the calm she'd like to project. "Don't lie to me," I say, the tremor in my voice shivering through everything familiar between us. My heart aches with the strain of this taut balance between fury and hurt, and each passing second ignites another layer, stripping back trust until all that's left is raw, bare nerve. She turns then, her back slightly to me, as if the angle can somehow protect her from the inevitability of what she must say. Each tick of silence spreads cracks through the carefully constructed facade of our life, like fault lines over a frozen lake. "It's just a shirt," she tries to say lightly, a half-laugh catching in her throat. It's a desperate gambit that falls flat between us. Nothing is just anything anymore. Everything hangs with significance, weighted words sliding against the friction of disbelief, shredding whatever remains of my patience. I step closer, the space between us narrow, the threads of our history binding too tightly, each breath mingling with distrust. "Who was it?" I demand, the edge in my tone sharp enough to cut through whatever barriers she'd hoped could hold back the tide of her guilt. Her silence stretches, still as a held breath, until finally, like the release of a distant storm, she tilts her head slightly towards me, eyes brimming, fear and regret whispering through. "I didn't mean." Her voice chokes off. "It was a mistake." The words hang there, each one a wound, as though if she can dress them as errors, they might somehow unravel the betrayals they carry. The world narrows, a tunnel vision of agony, as each syllable punctures our carefully woven illusion, and only the echoes of our falling world remain. Her voice trembles, breaking against the walls like waves too timid to claim the shore. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just, I felt so alone." The words cluster together, forming insubstantial shapes of sorrow and desperation. I'm standing here, watching her mouth move, but all I hear is the hollow thud of my own heartbeat, each pulse a reminder of everything that's shattered. "You weren't supposed to know," she manages, her fingers twisted together in her lap, as if seeking comfort from one another. My eyes drift past her, latching onto the frame on the mantel, my brother's face, smiling under a halo of sunlight, frozen in a moment I once trusted implicitly. A wind chime tinkers outside the window, random and mocking, like the flutter of wings too close to a flame. "I thought you'd left me already," she continues, her voice a frail bridge over a chasm. After everything with the business. I didn't know how to reach you." Her vowels stretch, thinning to threads that can't possibly hold the weight she asks them to bear. Inside, a part of me wants to snap, to slam the door on her justifications, but I'm motionless, captive to an inner silence that screams louder than any accusations. Silence that speaks what I can't. The betrayal simmering hot and acidic, a caustic refusal to slot into neat explanations. "What about him?" I finally ask, the words pushing past the drought in my throat. They hang there, a scalding challenge in the chilled room, the accusation neither of us can dodge. Her face crumples, a landscape of regret etched into every line, every shadow. I don't know. It just happened. We were both lost." Her confession trickles out, but each syllable feels like a drop of acid on bare skin. I try to catch her eyes, to see if there's anything left that's real between us, anything I could hold on to, but all I find is fear cocooned in guilt, a mirage of what once was rock-firm certainty. A car passes by somewhere outside, its engine a distant growl of normalcy cutting through the jagged quiet. Time, which seemed to congeal around us, now feels too fast-moving, the moments slipping beyond grasp like sand through a sieve. My brother's shadow looms larger as I piece together fragmented conversations and double meanings I'd overlooked, blinded by exactly the kind of trust now crumbling to archaeological dust beneath my feet. Her apology wraps around me again, gentle and suffocating. "I wish I could undo it," she starts, but the rest is swallowed by the silence I wield more expertly than any blade. The room seems too small now, the air dense with unsaid things too volatile to trust to words. Outside, the wind picks up, the chime's music turning dissonant, its notes lost to me as they scatter into the dimming horizon. The door slammed behind me, her last words echoing quietly in the hallway, drowned by my rage. I had to get out, get to him. The engine roared to life as if sharing my urgency, the vibrations beneath me mirroring the tremors in my chest. As I drove, the road became a streaked mural of grays and blacks, slipping beneath the tires in a swift, relentless rush. My grip on the steering wheel tightened until my knuckles were faded peaks of white against the black leather. Every breath felt sharp, each one dragging memories from the depths, memories now tainted and suspect. Images of their laughter at family gatherings clawed to the surface, moments that seemed so innocuous, now warped and twisted in the context of betrayal. I kept asking myself, what did I miss? What signals did I wave off in the name of trust and love? A love that's now in question, flickering uncertainly like a candle on the verge of burning out. The accusing roar in my head grew louder, competing with the grind of the engine. Thoughts tangled and collided, a traffic jam of possibilities and confrontations. What if he denies it? What if he confesses? What if there's some truth I've refused to see? The road seemed endless. Each mile felt like a physical pull on my resolve. The closer I got, the heavier everything seemed. My thoughts, my heart, the inevitable burst of emotions that loomed like a storm on the horizon. I could almost feel it, taste the acidic burn of anger rising in my throat. Streetlights passed overhead in an oppressive rhythm, their cold luminescence offering no solace. I drove faster, each mile a countdown to a confrontation I couldn't avoid. What I initially thought was fury simmered into a deeper, disquieting brew, a mixture of betrayal, hurt, and a bitter longing for answers that might never soothe the wound. I pulled into his driveway, the tires skidding to a halt on the loose gravel, stones crunching beneath the abrupt weight. The headlights illuminated the front of his house, spilling light onto the familiar facade that suddenly felt alien, tainted. I sat there for a moment, engine idling softly against the harsh quiet of the night. My fingers released the steering wheel slowly, joints stiff and unyielding from the journey. A push, a breath, and the car door creaked open, the cold night air rushing in, filling my lungs, bracing me for what was to come. Questions swirled in my mind, each one a cascade of emotions pent up inside, feeding a determination I could no longer suppress. I needed to face my brother, seek an explanation or at least some truth, though I knew it could never really fill the chasm that had opened up inside of me. The walk to his door felt eternal. Each step was heavier than the last, yet propelled by a force deeper than my anger, a need to confront, to understand, to perhaps even find some semblance of closure in the unraveling. The living room feels smaller, the shadows at the edges pressing in as I stand there, trying to anchor myself amidst the storm in my chest. My brother looks back from the sofa, eyes wide and unprepared, as if the act of looking at me is something new and unfamiliar, something that stings. How could you? The words come out like a whisper wrapped in barbed wire, lashing through the air, hitting him with the force of everything I haven't said and don't know how to yet. I feel the sting of it in my throat, as if some part of it turned back and cut through me on its way out. He flinches, and I watch the color drain slightly from his face, yet he doesn't look away. His mouth opens, closes, he resembles a fish out of water, gasping, struggling. It's that lack of response, that empty space between us, that gnaws at the edges of my sanity. I step closer, my voice dropping lower, heavier, threatening to crack under the weight of my own pain. Tell me the truth for once, I demand, the desperation leaking out despite my will to keep it bound. I need to hear it from you. He shifts, shoulders slumping forward as if to hide from the truth he carries. But there's nowhere for him to go. The truth envelopes him, follows him like a shadow. His gaze finally breaks from mine, finding a spot on the worn carpet, as if it might offer some solace, some escape from what's bearing down on us both. He starts, and I can see the struggle, physical, almost visceral, a battle to drag the words out from whatever depth they are buried in. I didn't mean for it to happen. His voice is small, a confession eked out in the open, exposed and raw. But he doesn't say what exactly it is. The air between us is tense, waiting. Rage wraps around the hurt in me, solidifies it into something burning and bright. Didn't mean what? The demand rings sharp, and I realize there's a sliver of pleading there, wishing for anything that makes this lie more palatable, more survivable. He takes a shaky breath, and when he finally looks up again, I see the tears welling, threatening to fall. I didn't mean to hurt you. 3 steps take me toward him, each heavy, feet meeting floor with a muted thud that echoes in my ears. My vision blurs slightly, threatening a breakdown I can't afford right now. But you did, didn't you? My voice steadies, betrayal turning each word into a condemnation. His silence is louder this time, more condemning than his stuttered excuses. We stand on opposite sides of an unfathomable chasm carved from deceit and disappointment. The room swims with it, its weight pressing down onto my shoulders, making every breath an effort. Finally, I turn away, the need for air pushing me towards the door, a temporary refuge from this truth I can't yet face. The door clicks shut behind me, and it's like a seal, a finality that traps me within these 4 walls. I stand there for a moment, waiting for something, anything, to break me free from the suffocating weight pressing down on my chest. But there's only silence, thick and unyielding, challenging me to speak, to scream, to cry. My lungs fight against it, expanding, constricting, as I try to pull in air that suddenly feels too dense to breathe. Pacing edges into my motions, pulling me across the room in a relentless circuit. Every step feels like punishment, a cadence of shoes on floorboards, echoing back secrets I thought were only mine to bear. But now, everything feels treacherously open, exposed, like wounds unable to close. My mind races back, hunting for clues, for whispers of truths that might have saved me from this ruin. Visions flash, a half-smile here, a fading glance there. The moments seem innocent, ordinary, trivial even, but they twist now under the shadow of betrayal. Each memory a thorn, pricking at my sanity. Can I really have been so blind, so foolish? The questions hurt more than I can bear, and something inside me snaps. In silent retaliation against the agony, I scream into the stillness. My voice bounces off the walls, fragmented, matching the disarray of trust now beyond repair, scattered like the remains of a porcelain vase against tiles. Tears gather, uninvited and unwelcome, but I make no move to stop them. Let them fall, I think, as if they could wash away the shame, the visceral betrayal that suffuses each ragged breath. But nothing can cleanse what's been tarnished beyond redemption. Blinking furiously, I scrub at my face with the back of my hand, an attempt to restore a semblance of control, but it's futile, and I know it. The anger that simmers beneath the grief is a silent comfort, a shadow less terrifying than the emptiness. It fuels a slow-burning rage that threatens to consume. But even as despair clutches at the corners of my soul, an unwanted acceptance begins to seep in. There's no going back. No editing of the story that's already written in indelible ink. All that's left is to move forward, step by step, through the wreckage. Sinking onto the bed's edge, I bury my face in trembling hands, drawing in a long, shaky breath. There's a strange solace in the solitude. At least here, I can break without judgment or pity. Alone, the grief is mine, to cradle, to confront, and, eventually, to rise from. As the tears dry on my cheeks, leaving salt-edged tracks, a seed of determination takes root amidst the desolation. Through the darkness, a spark of unwilling resilience flickers. But for now, I surrender to the solitude, cradling my sorrow until dusk bleeds into dawn, wondering if tomorrow will ever feel less like an ending and more like a beginning. The door creaks open, grudgingly inviting me back inside, as if even the house has grown wary of me. I pause on the threshold, feeling the chill in my bones, a chill not from the brisk November air, but something seated deeper, something insidious. Every part of the space I once called home seems alien, like a stranger's skin slipped over familiar bones. I step inside, dragging the weight of disbelief on my heels. The floorboards whine beneath my feet, there grown a reluctant witness to the chaos that seeped into this once warm existence. A wash of shadows bends across the walls, painting them in hues of dusk, where the memories of laughter once played. Each room beckons with a silent, mocking invitation. And here I am, scavenging for clues in this museum of memories. The living room is first, a mausoleum echoing of Sunday afternoons curled up on the couch, her laughter mingling with the flicker of the TV. Now those echoes chase themselves in circles around my mind, chanting a chorus of lost time. I hover by the mantel, where photos stand in wooden frames, still life moments of a past painted with certainty. I linger on one picture. The two of us smiling, heads leaning close, eyes squinting under the thrill of careless intimacy. But the photograph feels heavy in my hand now, like it knows something I hadn't seen. The kitchen next. It carries the ghosts of burnt casserole dinners, the crisp scent of morning coffee, and whispered promises over the hum of the fridge. The plates left drying on the counter are tinged with a kind of betrayal, their gloss conspiring under the waning light. I open the drawer to retrieve a spoon, but it feels absurdly intimate, and my heart thrums with a raw, wounded pulse as if touching forbidden relics in a stranger's life. Each room bleeds into the next, every corner tainted by faults that weren't visible just days ago. The bedroom waits last. I hesitate before the threshold, inhaling the residual warmth of her perfume, a scent that wraps around me with the sincerity of a lie well practiced. The bedsheets are a ravaged testament. Even at rest, they whisper of deceit in their gentle folds. I sit on the edge of the bed, the surface as yielding as my cracked resolve. The realization settles in, an uninvited guest draping its heaviness around my shoulders. Acceptance is a bitter syrup that lingers, its aftertaste rooting my grief deeper. I can feel the walls closing in, their embrace unsympathetic. It knows, they all know, and in knowing, they judge me in their passive silence. My breath is shallow, catching on the barbed wire of choked sobs that want to claw free, but I hold them back, holding on to the one fragile thread left, myself. Only myself now, amid the ruins of what I thought we were. The living room still carries a chill, like the uneasy silence that shadows us both. I feel it wrap around me, a heavy cloak weighing my shoulders, cutting into my very being. She stands in the doorway, hesitant, her eyes, those piercing eyes tinged with something between sorrow and resignation, linger on me, and I can't find the strength to meet them. My gaze drops to the floor, the familiar beaten tan rug rippling into focus, its fibers unraveling like the seams of our lives. Footsteps approach, soft yet deliberate. The barely audible rustle of her clothing seems to scream in the silence. She stops a few feet away, and I sense her shifting her weight, struggling under the burden of unspoken words. Out of the corner of my eye, she's a blurry figure caught in suspended animation, teetering on the edge of something monumental. "I'm sorry," she whispers, voice trembling as if releasing long pent-up breath. Her apology hangs in the air, fragile and weightless, while 1,000 things are left unsaid. Sorry, such a small word, an empty vessel I've heard too many times, now swept downstream in a river uncontrolled. Sorry doesn't change anything, I find myself saying, the words slipping out before I can contain them. There's a crack in my voice, a broken hinge that I couldn't fix even if I tried. My throat tightens, and I force down whatever pain is bubbling upwards, threatening to overflow. She steps closer, so close I can feel the warmth of her presence competing against the chill. Her scent, familiar yet different, some perfume mingled with the faint smell of her skin, envelopes me. But still, the gulf between us feels insurmountable. I know it doesn't. She pauses, her voice hushed, afraid of causing more damage. Silence cushions her words. I can hear the faint tick of the clock, counting down moments I wish I could freeze, to analyze and understand. But they're slipping away relentlessly, much like everything we once had. "We can't keep living like this," she continues, her voice so small, so frail. Yet there's a desperate strength in her admission, a plea buried beneath layers of hurt. Everything inside me tenses, each muscle and nerve coiling in protest when I finally raise my eyes to hers. Those eyes, a mirror of conflicting emotions, warmth, regret, fear. They ensnare me, daring me to look away, but I can't, caught in their inescapable gravity. "We have too many questions with no answers," I murmur, the truth tangible, real. My hands curl into fists, nails imprinting half-moon signatures into my palms to ground myself in the here and now. She takes one last step, closing the space, her hand reaching, hovering just out of reach. An offer, a chance, or maybe a challenge. Slowly, tentatively, I take it, feeling the warmth of her fingers wrap around mine. There's still an ocean between us, but maybe, just maybe, we found a fragile raft to weather the storm together. The night wrapped around me like a heavy, suffocating blanket, each breath drawing in the dense, cold air that pressed into my skin. Shadows slithered across the floor of my small living room, cast by the slow dance of the trees outside, their branches tapping insistently against the windows as if trying to pry their way into my solitude. Alone again, I sat curled on the faded armchair, knees tucked to my chest, staring at the dim light which suffused from the street lamp outside, a solitary guardian in the darkness. Each tick of the clock echoed loudly in the silence, a reminder of the relentless march of time, even as my life seemed stuck on pause, suspended between what was and what might be. Betrayal weighed heavily on my heart, as raw and gnawing as an open wound. Every face I conjured in my mind, every voice, reminded me that trust had been the casualty in this unwelcome war, a living, breathing thing abruptly strangled to death. Family and friends, swirling together in a murky spiral of lies, deceit, and abandonment. The shadows mocked me, whispering of forgiveness or revenge, of clinging to hope or letting everything crumble away. I didn't have answers, didn't know if I was ready to forgive, to sever ties, or to learn to breathe amidst the wreckage. The storm of emotions threatened to drown me. Anger flashed hot, yet exhaustion from it all threatened to drag me under. A string of unshed tears caught in my throat, choking me in their insistence to be acknowledged. They felt hot against my cool skin as they finally slid down, leaving a salty trail. The darkness offered a strange kind of comfort, an acceptance without judgment. The night held no rebuke, no insistence on decisions yet to be made. It only enveloped me, held me as I rocked ever so slightly, back and forth, trying to soothe the frayed edges of my soul. Part of me longed to reach out, to bridge the divide that sundering had created. Voices of past warmth and laughter battled the specters of deceit within me, pulling my heart in directions that left me aching. But could I face them, unravel the lies, and find something left to hold on to? The thought seemed like waking up a ghost, the specter of what family once meant, now haunting bare ruins. Each breath I took tasted of stale air and the sting of old memories. The contours of this pain were etched into my consciousness, and yet, beneath layers of hurt, an ember of hope dared to smolder. Maybe healing lay hidden in the shadows, wrapped in the same cloak of solitude that currently consumed me. As another tear fell, mingling with the previous, I allowed myself to imagine it. The day when the light would filter through these shadows, finally piecing them apart. The hope of finding some kind of peace, some kind of closure, still dared to dance in the dim corners of my battered heart. Dawn seeps through the curtains, painting our flawed world in softer hues, and I blink against the gentle light slipping into the room. It's warm on my skin, an odd kind of comfort that's almost foreign now. I'm lying there, listening to the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall, each second a small reassurance that time is, indeed, still moving forward, even if it feels like my world stands at a crossroad. Breathing in deeply, I sense the familiar scent of coffee brewing in the kitchen, the aroma wrapping around my senses like a tattered old blanket of normalcy. It's mundane, its predictability almost soothing, yet marked by something new, perhaps acceptance, a fragile determination that today I'll step out from yesterday's shadow. It's not forgetfulness. I know that much. The past doesn't let go so easily, anchoring itself in the heart with tenacity. Scars still whisper beneath my skin, reminding me of every choice, every misstep, but maybe, just maybe, it's time to face them without flinching. Quietly, I toss back the covers, feeling the cool morning air kiss my bare feet. I pause, allowing a moment to absorb the room around me. The way light streaks across the wooden floor, the faint creaks of the settling house. There's beauty here, hidden within the mundane, if I choose to see it. My limbs move through the motions of morning with a newfound resolution, not the blind optimism of yesterday, but the true grit of someone who knows the weight of living and decides to bear it anyway. Stepping into the hallway, I hear a faint noise, a barely there shuffling suggesting someone else is waking to the same dawn, contemplating their own path forward. There are words we haven't spoken, conversations left dangling in silence. The thought tightens in my chest, but I don't falter. Not this time. There's no promise of harmony, No assurance that today will weave our separate threads back together. Only the faint hope stitched silently into the morning light. I find myself at the window, gazing out at the world unfolding outside, streetlights dimming against the brightening sky, a neighbor's old dog wagging its tail lazily, a newspaper cradled in its mouth. Small gestures of life, continuing, as always. My reflection in the glass looks back, familiar yet altered, eyes shadowed but unbroken. Voices hum low from the kitchen, a familiar cadence punctuated by the clang of mugs and the rustle of papers. I pause, heartbeats echoing faintly in my ears, then step forward. It's time. Not for grand reconciliations or declarations. Those are stories for another day. Today is for acceptance, for facing what's left unspoken with quiet strength. The floor creaks beneath my weight, and their eyes lift to meet mine. The sunlight that's danced across my skin now shared between us. Coffee, a voice asks, tentative yet somehow brave in its simplicity. I nod, a small smile playing at the edges of my lips. Yeah, I'd like that.